another episode of NFT 365. And, Dan, we are on one heck of a journey. And I thought, for episode 300, we had a couple of things in the works, things planned for this episode. But I thought, you know what? Hey, this is my show. I can do what I want to. It's Web3. We can, create, we can empower, we can do things our ways. And so I wanted to tap in on this episode on really just the idea of what we have to think about ourselves in this space. Like, what do we have to identify with? And really, to me, this episode's beginning a little bit more of like self-talk, right? I'm gonna be kind of sharing my own self-talk out loud here for everyone that's listening. But before we do that, of course, shout out to our sponsor, Crypto Business Conference. Definitely check them out. I'll share a little bit more about them at the end of the podcast. And not only are we buying an NFT every single day for a year, but I sent out this massive tweet today with all of the guests that have been on our podcast. And it's 75 plus guests that we've had on over our 300 episodes. And we have more guests lined up for the end. And, this like wave of pride went over, you kind of waved over me. And then there was also this sense of like, wow, okay, a couple of these interviews that their projects missed, or the things that they were aligned with missed. And when I was looking back at our collection, right, we're buying an NFT every day. Most of you know, and maybe some of you are new, that this is where I spend a lot of my time, a lot of my focus, and really a lot of my stress. Is that I take a lot of pride of who I want to align my brand, my business with, and even our collection, and whose names I'm going to mention here on the podcast, because I know that many of you will take action. Hopefully, you'll do your own damn research, but you'll been inspired. Maybe the first project you've ever minted, maybe the projects that are your favorite you first discovered via this podcast. And I take a lot of pride in that, of not, of really not jeopardizing that trust, but also making sure that, those that I talk about are those that are, projects and people that I want to go to battle with and believe in the things that I believe in. And, so many of our guests, we share common interests and passions, and it's not that I don't want different opinions, but I also like those varying opinions that I bring on. For me, it's important for us to still share in that, vision, that mission. And, we've talked a lot about, the importance of empathy in this space, but I wanted to share, like, there's this importance of giving ourselves grace and giving ourselves permission to just live the way that we're living and take actions the way that we take actions. So if you're listening to this right now, and maybe you've never bought an NFT, but you're listening to the podcast, you're learning, and maybe there's a couple times where you're like, man, that's the first NFT I thought I was going to buy, but I ended up, not, setting up my MetaMask wallet, or I didn't buy my Ledger, storage unit yet, or I didn't connect my, Coinbase or my Binance to my bank account, whatever the reasoning is. Here's what I'm here to tell you. It's okay. It's okay you missed that opportunity, because there will be additional opportunities. Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, you know what, Brian, I jumped in on a couple projects that, I heard you mention, but, after a little while, I realized that I didn't have the time to commit to those projects, and I kind of wish that I didn't get into them. For those that are in that position, I'm here to tell you, like, you're not alone, and that you have to recognize that a lot of this is learning on the fly, right? Where the money that we are spending in many ways allows us to fast track as early adopters. Some of you might be listening, and you might have jumped into some projects that I'm a part of and that I'm very active in, and I talk a lot about. And you might have been like, man, these projects are great, but I wish I would have found my own project, or I wish I would have discovered, a couple other projects, or maybe I wish I would have jumped in earlier, right? Well, here's the truth. You jumped in, my friend, and I'm proud of you for doing so. And it's so easy for us to Monday morning quarterback. It's so easy for us to go back and say, I wish I did this, or I should have done that. Well, get rid of those shoulds. And like the shoulda, coulda, woulda doesn't get us anything moving forward. And, for me, I share this because, like, right now I'm wearing a piece of merch for a project that I'm no longer involved with. And, when the merch came, I ordered the merch back in March. It might have been February for this project. And it's a project that I, was all in on and I was very passionate about. And I've talked about many times here on the podcast. But over the time, like from when I jumped into that project in December to the person I am today, I've evolved. I've evolved what things matter to me. I've evolved the things that are important to me. I've evolved how I look at projects, how I look at leaders, and really where I want my liquidity sitting. And so I had made the decision to exit that project, and I still love the project. I love the art. I love the people that I've met via that project, and and the project is Psychedelics Anonymous for those that are listening. And I'm not fudding it because I'm wearing this shirt right now, but I just wanted to share, like, I opened the box and realized that it was the merch for this project, and like this feeling went over me of regret and shame. Like I had this regret of like, what the hell was I thinking? And this shame of like, Brian, like you shouldn't have jumped in on that project and bought that merchandise for that NFT, knowing that there's a chance that you might not still be in that NFT or you might not be a part of that project, down the road. And then I had to take a deep breath and say, what the hell am I doing? Like, how dare I shame myself for the decisions that I believe my decisions were correct when I made those decisions, and that I believe that, even selling my NFT allowed someone else that is excited about where that project is today to move forward. And so I say that because we have to really, take a step back in this whole journey, right? I don't care if you have a great idea for an NFT project. I don't care if it's, you're an NFT collector, maybe you're an NFT investor, maybe I know many of you that I just love buying NFTs and you're treating them like investments, but you haven't sold any yet, right? Maybe, and that's your strategy. And here's the thing. Good for you. Like you shouldn't think, compare yourself to others or how other people are building in this space. And maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, Brian, I buy almost all the NFTs that you talk about, but as soon as they go up a little bit, I take my profits and run. You know what I have to say to you? Good on you. Good for you on that's your strategy. Don't let anyone shame you for selling your NFTs or listing your NFTs or flipping your NFTs or trading your NFTs or changing your mind. But we also just have to not shame ourselves, not carry that guilt or that like, man, I wish I would have known, or I wish I would have done this different, or I should have thought about selling. Like all of that is just this that really takes up our space that should be used for opportunity for us to listen and learn. And so with that in mind, I also want to put out there that, like for me, like now I'm looking at this shirt that I'm wearing, right? This merch that I was excited to get over many months ago. And I look at it as pride. So I opened the box and I felt shame and I felt guilt and a little bit of regret. But now I've switched that mindset and that approach and I'm feeling pride. And here's the reason. And I want all of us to think about this. Those shoulda, coulda, wouldas that we like to go back and say, I wish I would have done something. In those moments, you were making the decision that was best for you in that time. And the thing that I was thinking about is that I could have easily sucked it up and said, you know what, I'm all in on this project. I've associated with my name. I wear the PFP all the time. I have merchandise coming. You know what? I'm going to separate what's most important to me, and I'm just going to ride or die with this project because I'm all in. But I didn't. Because here's the thing. Here's the magic. In NFTs and in Web3, we have the opportunity to have ownership. And with that ownership comes the ability for us to decide when we buy or when we sell, when we trade or when we make these decisions. So if you wanted to get into a project like Utes, but you weren't on the list, well, now you can go buy it on secondary. Yes, it might be more money, but if you believe that this project was going to be worth 800 Solana by the end of the year and jumping in on it right now at 150 Solana, maybe it's still the right decision for you. Maybe one of the things that you can do is rather than looking at it and saying, man, I wish I was picked, think about it and say, okay, what are the things that I can do to tell my story, to create my brand, my reputation, so that in the future for these type of lists, maybe I will be included. The other thing that I look at now with this pride is that, what this represents for me is that no NFT, no person, no brand is worth jeopardizing the trust that I have with all of you, the community, and those that are listeners and those that are on my team. And that's how I'm looking at this now, as a pride. And I'm wearing this shirt because, you know what? I loved everything this project had representing. And guess what? Although I sold the sets that I have the opportunity down the road that maybe what I value has changed. Maybe the way that they're operating has changed. Maybe they make some decisions that I look at and go, damn, now they're more aligned with my purpose and passion. Guess what I get to do? I can jump back in. I can buy back into that project. And so, unlike a lot of other things in our lives that we can't roll back time, we can't make up for some of the decisions that we made, or it's if we make this decision now, it's the only decision we can make. I'm gonna tell you, and I want you to think about this yourself. Look at your NFT bag. Look at the ones that are in your wallet, and I want you to think about this. How many of them, the NFTs that you currently own, are NFTs that you were hell-bent convicted on the project from day one until now? Versus how many of them that maybe you hemmed and hawed, you thought about jumping into it, but eventually jumped into it, and then eventually jumped in more, or maybe thought about now, and now you're following them on social. Maybe you're in their ear on Twitter Spaces. I will tell you a couple of the projects that I talk the most about. I talk a lot about crypto chicks. I talk a lot about my love for Alpha Girl Club. I talk about my love for, crypto dads, and shout out to crypto dads. It's their 1 year anniversary today, from when they minted. And crypto dads is a project that gave me the aha. I think my aha, I think it's kind of funny saying that. My aha is because of crypto dads. Like being in that community leading up to the mint and being in that Discord and connecting with other dads and those that had like-minded with me. And I was like, oh shit. There's a bunch of dads in here that I would have never connected with on any other social channel, that would have never known who I was. But thanks to this NFT, this bald guy wearing a Kobe jersey with a beard, all of a sudden I was able to connect with people that inspire me, motivate me, that I can help, that can help me, that are people that I'm excited to be, on this journey with. And although I haven't been super active in the crypto dads community, I recognized 12 months ago that I already got the ROI from that project. And I couldn't tell you right now, if you told me, Brian, I'll give you 1 ETH if you can tell me what the crypto dads floor price is, I couldn't even tell you a ballpark. Like, I'm thinking about it right now. I couldn't even give you like a point range of because for me, that project already paid off. I'm not selling that NFT forever. That NFT, that crypto dad's NFT, my Kobe girl dad NFT that is mine forever, because I love what it represents, but I love what it represents for me. Even if I'm not active in the community, it represents, like, it's that aha moment. It gives me that feeling of excitement of it really is the reason of this podcast. Like, this podcast would not exist if I hadn't discovered crypto dads. And that was a year ago today. And when I think about that, I think about all these other decisions that I've made, right? With projects that I've bought, right? I talk about my alien friends, right? I bought a couple alien friends, then I sold them, and then I got a rare aliens friends, and then I sold it. And within 48 hours, the floor price tripled higher after I sold it. And I remember just being pissed that I made that decision. I finally jumped into Lazy Lions, in my opinion, way too late. But what's funny about all of that is, like, although I jumped in late, I also had a rapport with that community that they knew when I was in that I was in. I loved jumping into Goblin Town, but I sold one of my Goblin Town and was really proudful about when I sold it and how I sold it. And funny enough, I went to try to track it down the other day, and I realized that, like, the person that bought it from me for 0.9, sold it for 7.3 Ethereum. And I could be mad about that. I could be pissed off at me about it, but I knew that I just made 0.9 Ethereum because I had bought it under 0.1. And that was great for me. And the fact that the person that I sold it to was smart enough to sell it at 7 ETH, that's great on them. Because guess what? I got to be honest with myself. I would still be holding that Goblin Town right now. And the floor now, I think, is around 1.5 ETH. So I wouldn't have done what that person had done. And so I say all of this because it's easy for us to fall back into like, man, I missed the boat, or I wish I was earlier. I wish I had liquidity, or I wish I could, do all these things. But here's the truth. You're listening right now. You're part of this community right now. You are further advanced and you are more attached to the early adoption curve than anything that you did in Snapchat or Facebook days or early web days. And for that alone, you should celebrate yourself. For that alone, you should pat yourself on the back and say, you know what? I'm doing a damn good thing. And so for me, for this episode 300, I want us all to celebrate that maybe you've listened to all 300 episodes. And for that, I mean, my mind is blown. I mean, the amount of time that you've given me and allowed me to, penetrate your ear holes, that just sounds really bad. I just say thank you. Maybe this is the first episode that you're tuning into, and I just want to say thank you. But more so than anything else, I just want everyone in here to recognize that you are special. You are damn good. You are willing to change. You're willing to learn. You're willing to try something new. You're willing to explore what's possible. You're willing to look the haters, the naysayers, the negative Nancys, the Karens in the faces and say, you know what? I'm going to explore this space. And for those that maybe jumped in and then jumped out, and maybe you're going back and you're listening to this podcast months later, kudos to you for making those decisions. Like, I just think that we just got to take a step back and recognize that nobody knows exactly what we feel. Nobody knows exactly what we care about. Nobody knows exactly what our version of success is. So let's not give let's not give nobody the opportunity to shame us, to guilt us, to make us feel pressured, to make us feel that we are less than, because we are not. We are all humans. We are so much more alike than we are different. We are all on this journey of life that there is no freaking blueprint. There is no exact way to do it. Perfection is a fairy tale and control is an illusion, my friends. We cannot control others. We cannot control the outcomes of NFT projects. The only thing we can control is ourselves. And the only thing that we should be focusing on right now is controlling how we talk to ourselves. Like, I'm going to look back now and I take a lot of pride in this podcast, but I also will not shy away from the fact that I've had to sacrifice a lot. And I've probably sacrificed, some financial opportunities, some opportunities that I've had, in business and even in my personal life, because I made the commitment to do this damn podcast every single day and to buy an NFT every single day, no matter what the market is like, no matter how many rug pulls are, no matter when my wallet got compromised. I bought an NFT that same day. And I should be proud of that. I should be excited about what all that means. And I am. But I also am one that goes down that rabbit hole of negative self-talk and imposter syndrome and questioning my, decisions and looking back at things that I've done. But that's life. And life it's not easy, and it's messy, and it's chaotic. But the beautiful thing is that we're all on this journey together. And we is greater than me to me is much more than a mantra. It's everything to me. And I just got to say, I'm still working to be the best me that I can be. But thanks to all of you, I feel like this greater we that we are creating around this podcast, around this community, around all of the people that are coming together, I will tell you, the thing that excites me more than anything else is seeing that podcast listeners connect with other podcast listeners. And maybe you launch a project together. Maybe you start an alpha group together. Maybe you launch your own podcast together. Maybe you start a Discord together. Maybe you just connect with each other in the Discord. I will tell you, like, that to me probably gets me the happiest. Like, I find so much joy in just knowing that I can play a small part in people connecting with other people that change their lives, that make them better, that make them feel less alone, that make them feel excited about the future. And so I just have to say, as I get a little emotional here, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this greater we. We are not done. We are not over. We are, say it with me, we are just getting started. But as we just getting started, we also have to just recognize that life is too short, and we have to take the moments to celebrate our wins, screenshot awesomeness and document the good things that are happening in our lives. And let's do our best to stop with the negative self-talk and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And let's just take ownership in the fact that we're not perfect and it's okay, but we're doing the best we damn can could. I'm not even, best we damn can could. Is that even English, Brian? I'm just fired up, a little emotional, a little nostalgic, but more so than anything else, extremely grateful. So I want to thank all of you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Of course, thank you to our sponsor who helps make a lot of this happen, the Crypto Business Conference. Definitely check them out. I want to turn handshakes into hugs and selfies, my friends. So if you are going to that event and you listen to this podcast, I'm going to do everything in my power to make, set aside time, let everybody know where I'm at, what we're doing. We're going to broadcast live from the event, the episodes of the podcast. And I really just looking forward to, getting to know each one of you a little bit better. And I just want to say that, all of the comments, the flowers, the reviews you leave on the podcast, they all mean the world to me. It's what keeps me going. It's what makes me feel like that we is greater than me is not just a mantra. It's a way of life. And that way of life is really only possible thanks to all of you that are listening, thanks to you that are on this journey. And so pat yourself on the back. Let's celebrate 300. We have 65 days left to the end of this season 1. But as always, we are just getting started. And of course, we need to do our own damn research. But we also have to press that damn button and recognize that we raised our damn hand. We jumped into this podcast. We jumped in this community. And there are big things ahead, my friends. So until tomorrow, which will be episode 301, the home stretch is here. Make it a freaking great day. Cheers, my friends.